Hello everyone. Today's poem is Wang Feng, 大车, a king wind from the Book of Songs. The title 大车 means the ground chariot, the big chariot. So basically it means a lot. First thing first, the chariot serves two purposes. One for the nobles, for the daily usage, for the daily commutings, and the other purpose is for the war. So whenever you saw the chariot appears in the poems in the Book of Songs, basically it serves for two purposes. It was used to reflect the laws or the warriors. They are so magnificent, they are so brilliant with a powerful chariot. Or the other is to reflect that a situation associated with a war. So the chariot is a very, very critical object in that time. It was with the most advanced technology. That's the like the artificial intelligence, like the internet for today. So it's with the most advanced technology, and it resembles the power and wealth. Without fully understanding the significance of the chariot, how important the chariot and what does the chariot mean for the Zhou people, it's really hard for us to understand this simple poem. As I have shared many times, the poems in the stage wind normally are very simple, and the wording is very simple, and the poems normally is not very long. But most of them is about the very fundamental values of the society, the very fundamental philosophies, the very fundamental feelings of the majority of people. So it was very, very closely linked to the social background, the history background, and how the philosophy of that time. This poem is a very good example for that phenomenon. In this poem, when the chariot was mentioned and emphasized, so it gave us a very, very strong hint that either it's about something in the war or either it's about the Lord, because the chariot serves two major purposes in the Zhou dynasty. One is for the daily commuting, the other is the weapon, the most critical weapon in a war. So for the telecommuting, only the noble person could have the chariot, and the chariot has different degree and styles for different levels of people. In this poem, it was so called as 大车, or sometimes called 大路. This is the most grand, magnificent chariot for the state's lord or for the king. So this is the chariot for the most high-level person. So when we interpreted this poem, the grand chariot is something must to be justified with the whole poem. With the understanding of the grand chariot, I developed a new interpretation for this poem. The very original interpretation for this poem is a blaming poem. It blames the dirty, degrading couple. They don't listen to their parents. They disobey the social laws, and they run away for their love. It's a very, very serious bad behavior. It's a very, very serious guilty in that time. So it's a blaming poem. But anyhow, it's really hard to be justified by the whole poem. So later on, or today, most of the people, we believe it's a love poem. But the poet is still uncertain. Could be a he or could be a her. So it's really hard for today's people to know. But anyhow, we know it's a love poem. It's a sort of the letter of love. One person write to his or her beloved. Okay, let's get to the poem. For the first paragraph, 大车渐渐，毳衣如菼，岂不尔思，畏子不敢。So the grand chariot was rushing with the sound 渐渐, and the clothing, the royal clothing, is like tan. Tan is a type of grass, but actually we are not very clear what exactly it is. But from the character, we know it's a grass, and it's very likely it's the grass like a fire, a very strong fire. You can see there's two fire radicals in this character. So in my thinking, or in my first thoughts, when I saw this, I do believe it was used to describe the clothes was red, because the fire was in the color of red. So the first sentence means the grand chariot either is in for the daily commuting, but here it doesn't look like this. We can double confirm in the third paragraph, but let me tell you, it's about a war. So the war chariot was rushing quickly with the sound 渐渐. So the 渐渐very likely is the bells sound on the chariot, and that bell sound was described in the Book of Songs, other poems in the Book of Songs many times. It's a very, very obvious feature or very strong character of the chariot. And 毳衣 is a very, very special clothing for the state's lord, or even for the king of Zhou. So with the grand chariot, with the 毳衣, the most magnificent royal clothing, we know it's something about a war. It's about something associated with the king or the state's lord. Anyhow, the background of this poem is the king's wind. So very likely it's about the king, and the king was in a war, and the clothes was all red. So that a very, very crucial war with a lot of the slaughters. It's a really hard war. And the second pair of sentence means 岂不尔思，畏子不敢. Is that to say I never think about you? It's because I'm afraid of that noble guy, so I dare not to think about you. So it's a love poem, right? So first thing first, who are the poet? So he was on that grand chariot, or he was around that chariot. But most likely he was on that chariot because he can read and write. He write this poem, right? Remember, the people who can write poems to express their personal feelings, they are all the noble persons. And he was on the most powerful, most magnificent grand chariot. He was standing with the king, or he may be even the king himself. But the second pair of sentences explain us there's someone who he was afraid of. So he was not the king. He was not the state lord. He was someone under the just under the king. And he was on the same chariot. I think 90% of the chance he was on the same chariot, or he was just next chariot with the king. And they have the very, very hard combat. Their clothes was all with all the blood is bloody, and the clothes is red. So this is the first paragraph. So the first paragraph actually is quite interesting. The poet is a warrior in the battlefield. He was combating with the king, with the general, side by side. He's a noble, of course. And the battle, the combat is so hard and crucial, and their clothes are all red with blood. Even at such circumstances, somehow maybe he received a letter from her girl or some other things. He was accused of by the girl that you don't show any love to me. So this poem is the reply letter to the girl to explain that I'm still with you. I'm still in such a deep love with you. Don't say I'm not thinking of you, because I'm afraid of the general. I'm afraid of the king. That I dare not. I dare not for what? I dare not to show or to do something that prove I'm still loving with you, or I made all my promise to you. So there are so many possibilities. Maybe he promised to marry with the girl in some months, in some day, but because of the war, because of the combat, they missed that date. Or maybe they're couples, and there are so many things in the home need the husband to do or to take the responsibility. But because of the war, the husband now is a warrior in the battlefield. He cannot go back to the home to fulfill his duty as a husband, as a father, to support the whole family. So this is a very normal subject in the Book of Songs. But in this poem, this is all the background of that. The focal point is the love between the husband and the wife, or the boy with that girl. With the understanding of the first paragraph, the second paragraph is quite easy. 大车啍啍，毳衣如菼，岂不尔思，畏子不敢。The grand chariot was running with the sound dun dun. So by the sound simulation, word 墩墩, very likely the chariot was running very slowly and with a lot of the turbulence, with a lot of the in a rocky road. 毳衣如菦, 菦 is a red jade, red stone, so it's still referring that their clothes was all red with blood. So they very likely they just come back from the battlefield. Their clothes is red with the blood from the battlefield, and they walk back to their camp slowly on the chariot. 岂不尔思，畏子不奔. Don't say that I do not love you anymore. I just do not run away because I'm afraid of the king. I'm afraid of the general. 子 is a general term used to call the noble person, the son of a king, the son of a duke. So that's the general term for the most prestigious person. So here, 子 either is the king, the prince, I should say, either is the prince or either is the general, son of a duke. So 奔 is run away. So why he run away? He ran away from the army, from the battlefield, and go back to his hometown to reunion with his wife, with his girl. So that is 不奔, don't run away. So here actually make the feeling more deepened. He even want to run away from the army. It's a very, very serious guilty in that time. With that, if he run away from the battlefield, he should be sentenced to death penalty. So the first and the second paragraph basically gave us the background story. A warrior is thinking of her girl who is back in the hometown so hard, and apparently the girl or his wife has accused of him somehow by some way. So this is a reply letter to his girl, to his wife, and the feeling deepened from the first paragraph to the second paragraph. He even think about run away from the army. The third paragraph is an ode to the girl. 古则异室，死则同穴。谓予不信，有如皎日. So we are from different families when are alive, but we are deemed to be buried in the same cave, in the same tomb. So that's my promise to you. 谓予不信，有如皎日. The last pair sentence is a sort of the idiom for a swear, for an oath, which is, if you said you don't believe in me, just look at the bright shining sun above. My words is like the bright shining sun. So this is so-called 指天为室, pointing to the sky, to the sun, and make the oath. So that's a very, very typical style or typical way of making an oath in the ancient China. The character 谷 means grain, means food. Here it was used as a verb that eat the grain, eat food. So the derived meaning means live, alive. So 毬则异室 means when we are alive, when we can still eat the grains, we are from the different families. 室 means the family temple, so they are from the different families, so they could be a couple. And here very strongly implies that they are a couple. They have married already. And 死则同穴 穴 means the cave, and in the poems normally it always refers to the tomb, and this is also a very interesting part. Before the Zhou dynasty, the husband and the wife, especially the noble persons, they are buried in the different place. They are not buried together. In the Zhou dynasty, they are buried in the same tomb, but in two different caves normally. So this is from the modern archaeology. So in this poem, the poet made his oath that we will bury it in the same cave. So this shows such a strong intimacy and love between the couple. And this is also something a little different from the West Zhou dynasty. So keep in mind, the king went was all written in the East Zhou dynasty, a period of changing, a period of wars, bloody wars. In the West Zhou dynasty, the focal point was always the family value, or in a big scope, the royal family. So the family was the building blocks of the society, not the couples. So buried in the same cave, which implies the focal point is the couple now, not the whole big family anymore. So this also reflected that the social structure, the social status is changing dramatically, and it's a time of changing. And that's a common sense today, that the East Zhou dynasty is a time of changing, but we still can find the evidence from the poetry as well. Another two poems in the King Wind also reflected that people suffered too many wars during this time frame, which is 君子于义. The Lord was on his duty of war, and the other is 阳之水, which described a junior lord. He served in so many places, and he has no time to get back to his home. Another poem in the Han Dynasty could be also referenced, 上爷. So this is how the ancient Chinese make an oath, how they put their words when they make an oath. So in this poem is the last pair of sentence, 有如皎日. And in the 上爷, the starting words 上爷 means the sun, the sky above. So it's the idiom to start an oath. So this is also 指天为示 pointing to the sun, pointing to the sky to make an oath. Okay, that's for today. Bye bye.